everyone, Brenton from It's Okay Night. So let's run through what every team did today at the end of the first day of free agency. So we're literally going to go through every team, even if they did nothing. So let's start. Anaheim Ducks, we're going in alphabetical order. Busy-ish day that they did so well in the draft, and then today they've signed Shattenkirk at $3.9 million for 3 years. So that's $3.9 million for each year. And then Derek Grant for $1.5 a year for 3 years as well. So they're right up against the cap now, but these are pretty savvy signings. They help the team now, don't wear in the future. A nice piece of business that they were able to get a prospect and a fourth when trading Derek Grant to the Flyers during the off-season, during the trade deadline, and then obviously bringing him back. He definitely has value in the league. I think both of these contracts, you may regret that last year, but the fact that they're not steep money-wise is something that you can wear for the franchise. So yeah, I think they've done pretty well. They've improved their lineup big time, especially with Shattenkirk, who had a handy season with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He can eat up minutes on the blue line, which is what this team needs. It's not an overpay for Shattenkirk like it was with the Rangers. So I think it's a pretty good effort. It looks like they're done now. They've got no cap space, but they haven't affected the future, seeing that Getzlaf deal falls off at the end of next year. Kessler falls off, and Perry's buyout goes from $6.2 million to $2 million a year. So yeah, they save a fair bit of money next year, so they can go out and even get more pieces. Plus, they'll have players like Drysdale that might be breaking into the lineup as well, and they'll be on entry-level deals. So Anaheim's actually done pretty well today. Also, coupled with the fact that they traded away Goodbranson to Ottawa, again, taking off some cap to be able to get Shattenkirk. So pretty good 24 hours all in all for this team. Arizona Coyotes are next. They're right against the cap, so they weren't really able to do too much. They got John Hayden in and Tyler Pitlick, both of them on very small deals. John Hayden's at $750,000 for a year. His best season is getting 4 points in the NHL of 50 games. He's not an NHL caliber player. Can play a little bit tough, I guess, but he's not going to move the needle or do very much for this team at all. Tyler Pitlick is the other one. He's been signed for 2 years. Best season he's had is 27 points in 80 games. Maybe a handy fourth liner. Again, not really going to help this franchise get anywhere near where they need to be, which is they need scoring. This whole franchise for a long time has not been able to score. In the last decade, they've had one player score 30 goals or more. And that was for Barter. But yeah, so they're almost paying him $2 million, so $1.75 million for the next 2 years. It's just another one of these contracts that are just why do you pay these middling players these $2 to $4 million deals? And if you look through the Arizona team, it's just all these contracts. But yeah, that's pretty much all they were able to do. Like I said, they're up against the cap. They don't have too much they can do. So yeah, if you're a Coyotes fan, it's probably not going to be a great season coming up for you. I can't imagine that things are going to get better, especially with the fact that they don't have picks next year as well. Oh boy, it's just getting bad to worse for this team, and I think it's going to take them a few years to get out of this one. That's pretty much rebuild again. Boston Bruins have done nothing. Absolutely nothing. The last contract they signed was in August the 23rd. So they've really not re-signed anyone or done anything yet. So all they've done is lose Torrey Krug. So I'm not sure where this team's at the moment. I feel like losing Krug's a really big piece. No word whether Chara's going to come back or what exactly they're looking to do. But yeah, this is an interesting team. This is going to hurt. I mean, they definitely had cap space to play with, and I still think they need a defender, so I don't know what they're going to do, because that blue line's really looking a bit worse for wear now, and no word whether Rask is going to come back. He's got 1 year left on his deal. A lot to do in Boston right now, but yeah, nothing today. Really shocking as a team that's usually in on something, just nothing at all. Buffalo Sabres really didn't have a lot of forward signs, so they had to have a busy day today just to at least get some talent, and they were able to do that, picking up 3 players at $700,000. So obviously they're one of the teams that we know are definitely in the cap crunch. Also, they got Greg Gergson's yesterday for 3 years at 2.2. each. So that's going to be interesting to see whether that works out. But they got Tobias Reeder. So that's a really handy player that for some reason seems to always score on the Penguins. So, but yeah, really handy penalty killer. Never really reached his upside, but I think a handy player at $700,000 for any team. Just never really got a chance at somewhere good. Matt Irwin, again, another handy-ish little player to sort of put in there on defense, especially with the price tag, trying to save money and field a team. And then Brendan Davidson, same thing, handy player that any team would be happy to have at $700,000. So yeah, just adding to the depth there, rounding out the lineup. I mean, they really didn't have many defenders under contract. They've kind of got the defensive lineup. I mean, it's not the best in the world, but they've got one, and they've got the forwards now, a new forward. They've still got a lot to do, but it's a step in the right direction. They've been making small little, like Tage Thompson was another player that they signed. They're slowly progressing towards something here. So yeah. Still probably not going to be the greatest season, and we'll do a whole preview of everyone closer to the year, and we'll do a full preview. But yeah, at least they're fielding a team, so that's exciting. The Calgary Flames, probably one of the busier teams that have definitely upgraded their lineup this year. They struggled to be consistent all last season, and it definitely hurt them in the playoffs. And yeah, they were able to get a few pieces, especially really, really late. They've signed a deal since I started making this video. So I think the big name is Jacob Markstrom. That really helps them in that, unbelievably well. The contract's pretty big. I can see why Vancouver wanted to get away from it. We'll get to Vancouver down the way. But yeah, it's 6x6, which kind of hurts if you have a 30-year-old goalie. And we've seen goalie contracts very recently really hurt teams when they go long, but I can see why the Flames had to go out and do something. They need to be able to win. They need to be able to do something with the talent that they have, and this is a goaltender that at least moves the needle a little bit for the team. They also shored up their defense by getting Christopher Tanev just right now as we record this. This was breaking news. 4 years at $4.5 million. I think it will add a lot of heart and grit to this team and something to that blue line that's probably missing. So I do like both of these moves. They brought back Zach Ronaldo to, obviously to punch someone in the face eventually. They got a few other depth signings at $700,000 at Alex Petrovic and Buddy Robertson. Again, they're just very depth. And then Brian Francois, I think that's how you say his name. He's on a 2-year at $725,000. So again, just really handy players to sort of round out that lineup. But Christopher Tanev, I think, helps with an identity. Because what's the Flames' identity? I think that's a big thing. And then they've kind of had this merry-go-round with goaltenders for quite a while that just haven't really worked out since Kaprizov left the league. And it's just not worked out. So now you've got a guy now. That's something. You've got a guy for the next 6 years, which is really, really good. It's not like, again, Brad Johnson or Chad Johnson, I think his name was, sorry. Brad Johnson was the Penguins backup a long time ago. But yeah, I really like the idea that, look, they're all in on someone. And, I really hope this works out. This can be a very exciting team. So yeah, all the best, I guess. Plus new jerseys, new retro jerseys. So that's kind of cool. Hurricanes, nothing at all outside of Worms retiring. Nothing really to report with this team. Yeah, it just seemed like they couldn't get a deal for one of their goalies. I mean, the goalie market's pretty much dried up with what was out there. It's very hard to trade a goalie right now. As you can see, the value for Matt Murray coming back. But yeah, I would have thought that they would have been in on someone to try get one of those goalies. Maybe try get another depth forward. I know that they probably have an internal cap as well. But yeah, it just seems odd that they weren't in on any of these depth players or a defender at $2 million or something just to round out this team that seemed to be missing in the playoffs, that they just couldn't get everything going. And obviously, a couple of injuries hurt them in the playoffs. But I just thought they would have tried to get something going, just especially why Svechnikov has still got 1 year at an ELC, make the most of it, maybe spend a little bit of money somewhere on a forward in case he does get injured that can come up and score. So yeah, not really sure what this team's doing or where they're at, but yeah, nothing today. Blackhawks, nothing huge to report here, just re-signing 2 players. Malcolm Subban, again, I thought this would have been a team that would have been in on a goalie, but Nothing at least yet. So they've got Subban for the next 2 years at 8.5 million, geez, 850,000 per. It's a lot of numbers right now, and they've re-signed Kupelik, who was obviously in on the Calder Award, one of the nominations there. Really a come out of nowhere player of last year. He's signed for 2 years at 3.7 million. So they haven't heard anything if both these players don't work out down the way. So yeah, so obviously you might get stunned if Kupelik becomes something and goes to free, goes around that UFA timed and wants that money. But I understand with the climate doing this. But yeah, nothing to help this team out. Obviously Crawford has now moved on. It kind of sucks for this team. It's a bit sad seeing him move on. But yeah, and there was a lot of rumours that Keith might have been on the block just because of how salary-wise cheap their contract is. But nothing as yet. So yeah, don't expect too much from this team. I kind of was wondering if they're looking to sort of trade some stars down the way and start the rebuild now. But it'll be interesting to see what this team does in the next year. The Avalanche, today with the UFOs and a re-sign that they made, bringing back Dries, it's just real depth. It's a lot of AHL talent, which I think is important to bring in for the next year coming up, just because, especially if it's a truncated schedule, if you have an injury, you want players that can just come in and be a big body and not ruin your youth development. So I might butcher some of these names. They got Dries, Sherwood, Salomaki, and Vitrone. I don't know how to say that name. Pretty much all of them are at $700,000 to $770,000 a year for 1 year. So they're all just depth signings. Probably the big news of this team is they actually qualified every single one of their RFAs. They didn't let any of the big names go. So they've got about 6 of them to sign. So they're probably just looking to get that done. Obviously last year with all the last playoffs with the injuries with the goalies and things like that, they still think that they're probably a team that can win. So they didn't want to add too much to that or ruin the system there. Chalk it up to bad luck, and it's good to see a team be patient because it can pay off, as we saw with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It would have been nice to see them go out and get something, maybe a little bit of grit, just to be able to put in a playoff lineup, but we'll see what they do down the road. Columbus Blue Jackets. This was an interesting team because yesterday they cleared about $11.2 million in cap space, so it was going to be interesting if that was a cost-saving maneuver or if they were going to weaponize that. Right now, there's still some free agents out there, and obviously still things they can do, but I haven't heard them being in on very many people. They signed a depth guy in Bayreuther, and that's pretty much all they did today. So, yeah, I think that it was all cost-saving yesterday, so I can't see them doing much in the upcoming future. I mean, they may look at a trade or something down the way or have a bit of an idea, but it looks like they have an internal cap, obviously with fans probably not going to be in the arenas day one. Today, Dallas Stars, the runner-up in 2020, just re-signed Khudobin, which was a handy little piece. He obviously ran this team as far as he could in the playoffs, even though the scoring was up and down and wasn't consistent. I thought they might have been in on maybe some other players or looking to do something else, but pretty quiet otherwise besides the re-sign. But yeah, getting him for 3 years at $3.3 million per. Not a bad signing after just re-signing Sakura for 2 years at 1.5 the other day. So yeah, looking to just go with the same lineup by the looks of it. May not be done, but yeah, it looks like that's all they're going to be doing in the next few days. The Detroit Red Wings, busy-ish day. They weren't able to weaponize any of that cap space, and it looked like they were definitely keen to with some of the trades that they were out there getting. So I'm surprised they didn't throw more money at a few contracts to trade away at the deadline, because it seems like money's not really too much of an issue for this team. The contracts they signed today, most of them were just, helpers. John Murrell, Kevin Boyle, Riley Barber, and Carl Kulo. But they got Bobby Ryan on a 1 year, $1 million deal. Also, Riley Barber's on a 2 year, $800,000 deal. I just thought they were going to do a bit more, maybe put a goalie in place for a year and look to trade him. And just look to sign some of the other players at an inflated salary to the move at the deadline, but obviously not to be yet. There's still a lot of players still out there, so they can definitely look to do that and then pick up some assets at the deadline. Not much done with the Oilers, at least early on. Just after they've been able to bring Poyavi back, which is a good thing for them. They've signed Carl Turris, to a 2-year, $1.65 million deal for each years. They've been able to bring Seth Griffith in just as a depth player for 2 years at $725,000 and Tyler Ennis at $1 million a year. Not fixing their blue line at all, and obviously they've moved on from some of the defenders that they had, and no one's really come in the system and not picking up a goalie. So yeah, a lot to do for this team that really struggled to just even get past the Blackhawks. It just boggles my mind that it's still up to those three guys in this team to do it. Florida Panthers next. Really decentish day for them today. Usually they give up some pretty horrendous contracts in free agency. At least they have for the last 7 years or so. But yeah, this year being reserved, being very good. Like, they've definitely made moves to make this team better and give them a bit more of an identity. They just need Bobrovsky to make some saves, but we'll run through this, what they did. So they got Alexander Wenberg on a 1-year, $2.2 million deal. Pretty savvy there. Hinostroza at a $1 million deal, so he's decent-ish little player there. And Radko Gudas, which really does help this blue line, at $2.5 million for 3 years. So really handy acquisitions there that don't exactly break the bank. They've still got $11 million in cap space with Dadonov leaving. And they picked up Carter Verhaeghe, 2 years at $1 million a year. And just to round out some depth, Ryan Lomberg at 2 years at $725,000. So pretty handy little deals there that do definitely make this team better. And maybe the thing to push them up into that next level. Be interested to see what they do with the rest of the cap space. I wouldn't mind them getting another goalie, just in case Bob does fall off the planet. Obviously, only paying him for a year. You don't want to get too much in trouble here when it comes to length. But you need someone to be able to take it if he can't get it together, and just take the pressure off a little bit off Bob. I think would go a long way. LA Kings did nothing at all. They've still got $13 million cap space and some deals to fall off at the end of the year. They've got the Kovalchuk terminated deal with that's got $6.25 million. That falls off the books at the end of this year. But yeah, so that does help them. But yeah, nothing really happening there. It looks like they're still retooling on the fly. Looks like they're still retooling on the fly. Still got a lot to do here. It'd be interesting to see where this team's at down the road. But yeah, picking up Marta, they've done a few little deals here and there as they've gone along just to make the team a little bit better. But it just seems like they're poised to be at the bottom end of the table again. But they might be able to do some stuff. Minnesota Wild still have a bunch of stuff to do here. Very, very underwhelming day from a team that's been very busy lately. I thought they might have made a bit more of a splash than what they picked up. Cam Talbot for 3 years at 3.6. What's Cam Talbot, man? Like, what's Cam Talbot at 36? Is this just a Dubnyk problem that they were dealing with this year, 2 years from now? That's all I look at this deal. And then picking up 2 depth players at $700,000, which seems to be like the depth amount this year is just $700,000, and it's fine. Mermis and Cam Rosa. But yeah, I just would have liked to seen a little bit more. They re-signed a few people like Bukowski yesterday as well. But yeah, not... I just, again, wanted to see a little bit more from this team. Again, still free agents out there, and some of it obviously only day one, but yeah, I just kind of thought they might have been in on some other players or in and around that sort of mark. Montreal Canadiens, after the terrible contract of Josh Anderson, today haven't done anything dumb yet. They signed Victor Mete at a 1-year, $735,000 deal. Oilets at $737,000, and a depth player at Baddock for $700,000. Didn't seem like they've been in on very much, at least rumor-wise. Probably one of the few Canadian teams that didn't do much this time round. They've obviously made headlines recently. But they've got Romanov coming in. They've got things happening to improve this team in the off-season. Just, wouldn't have mind seeing them do a little something just to reward the players for how well they played in the postseason. But, oh well. Nashville Predators do pretty much what they've been doing for the last few years. Not a lot. I would have liked to see them try get some scoring or try shake it up a little bit. Maybe go out there and try shore up that goaltender position, just because it doesn't seem like they're keen on Soros or Rene for next year. But, you know, they've got to deal with it, I guess. So they got Borowicki at 2x2, Matt Benning at 2x1. So pretty handy little deals there, although their defense has a fair bit of depth to it, so I was a little bit surprised they went out with that. But especially that Matt Benning one, that's not a bad contract, that's quite handy. And Nick Cousins, 2x1.5. So handy signings, but nothing that's going to really help with the fact that they haven't really been able to score for long periods of time. But it seemed like this team is really in on everyone. That's especially the bigger names that are still available. So look for this team to maybe look to do something else. They still have $13 million in cap space. Again, I always have to preference that. Like, they may not be spending towards that because of the COVID stuff, but yeah, they've got that available to be able to go and get a big fish if it's possible. God, I'm so over changing jerseys. My hair just is just gone because I keep having to change my jerseys. New Jersey Devils, kind of an interesting one. Corey Crawford, 2 years at $3.9 million. I don't hate this deal because they can look to trade it away. Obviously, no news whether there's like a no trade clause or a no movement clause, but they can look to move it. He's 35 years old, but it's only for 2 years, and they've got the cap space. It's a name, right? So some people might buy some jerseys. It's kind of, it's good, especially seeing that they bought out Schneider. So this does help them a little bit. Obviously, they don't have the greatest team lineup, so they've got a long way to go, this team. But yeah, it's nice to see them like get a name. Still lots to do there. It's going to be a slow rebuild. But yeah, it's a name, right? Like, it does help out now. And again, they might be able to trade it for some assets after a year and a bit of having him. So yeah, really like decent signing. Like, I was surprised that the Red Wings weren't doing deals like this when I said, like, to accrue assets to trade away. So this is a real savvy deal that really only has upside with not much risk outside of the money side of things, which is only for 2 years, and they're not exactly against the cap. So, yeah. The Islanders did nothing. Not a thing. So, obviously, they've got Sorokin coming in, so they're going to have really good goaltending. But yeah, nothing at all thus far, and it wouldn't hurt to round out that defense or have another scorer. I know they played a certain identity, but I just don't think you can play that the whole time, and that shtick might get a bit old. But we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, I'm just a little bit worried about this team going forward. But yeah, thus far nothing, but again, they'll probably look to get some really good deals and try to be a bit savvy in the next few days. Really, really bizarre stuff at the Rangers. Really bizarre. Like, I don't get what they're doing here. Like, I just don't get it. They've had such a good few months, and I mean, one of the best few months that a team has had, and some of the deals that they've been able to make to bring in talents. And you know, what they did with the draft to get Schneider, obviously Lafreniere fell into their lap, but they've just been really savvy in getting things done. Unfortunately, having to move away from Lundqvist, but then they signed a goalie in Keith Kincaid, which, like, at 2 years at $825,000. So are they moving on from Gorgia? Like, one of those two goalies? Like, I don't get that move. I don't get that one at all. Kevin Rooney comes into the team at 2 years at $750,000. They put Jack Johnson on the blue line, which, oh boy, you aren't in for a treat there. Even at $1.15 million, it's not going to be fun. At least he's paid like a depth defenseman. He might be okay in a 6 role, but like, oh boy, like, make sure there's someone quick on it with him on that D line, because otherwise that can be really tough. Colin Blackwell gets a 2-year deal at $725,000, and then Crawley and Brodzinski and Greco round out the depth in just $700,000 deals for 1 year. Greco gets 2 years there, so yeah, a little bit underwhelming from them. Obviously, they're not going to do anything crazy. They've had a pretty bad rep lately of signing massive deals. Brad Richards, Shattenkirk. That just haven't worked out. Mark Stahl, there's a fair few that they've given extensions to around this time, or signed free agents that just hasn't worked out. And there's just no point doing that at the moment. I would have loved to see them bring in like a Torrey Krug. I reckon that would have helped them massively. or sign a short-term deal with Taylor Hall and just be like, screw it, let's just have all the fun. But yeah, still some big names out there. I'll be interested to see if they're in on any of them or if they're looking to make any trades. But yeah, nothing at the moment. Quiet day for Ottawa. They don't have a lot of money, this team. Everyone's kind of been sucked down a little bit to their earth, so they're just like, oh, this is... You want to complain about not having money? I've been doing this for a long time. But they made a couple of deals today. A couple of depth signings. Logan Shaw gets 2 years at $725,000, and Matthew Pecker gets $700,000. And they signed Matt Murray for a 4-year at $6.25 million. So I understand why the Penguins did not want to, just couldn't justify that contract. So I understand that, but they've been able to keep him and obviously get a deal done. There's no holdouts or anything like that. So good on them. Still a lot to do, long way to go. The usual stuff that you hear with the Sens. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're super in on it, but also the team's not ready to go. And I feel like eventually they'll get to a point where they'll want to spend money. And that point's just not now. Flyers. Flyers are looking like they're in for some trades here. And they're listing offers on Konecki, which is a bit crazy. So, a lot to do. I will give them a shout out. I'm a dirty Penguins fan, but they signed Derek Pouliot. And so he gets to go around for one more year. So, yay, Derek Pouliot. I know it's so dumb that I'm rapt about that, but I am. But yeah, they're in on a few trades, it looks like. So, yeah, a little bit interesting to see where that all lands. But it looks like, yeah, a few of the rumoured big players that could be traded, they seem to be in on. So kind of look for them to do something in the next few weeks. The Penguins, pretty good day from them. Nothing crazy. They've got out from Jack Johnson. They've signed Evan Rodriguez, who they got in a trade before for 1 year at $700,000, which is great. He's he's a player well worth more than that, with a bit of an upside. He got Jankowski as well, which may be a player that works out here. Did pretty well with the Flames for the last 2 seasons, and then the last season just fell off the face of the earth at $700,000. Re-signed Sam Lafferty, 2 years at $750,000, and got a player called Josh Corey to round out the depth at $700,000. So pretty good effort. Nothing stupid. I actually like these moves. San Jose, not really much to report here. Yeah, this team's really not looking great after missing out on a pretty stellar draft. Stefan Nolson comes in at 1 year at $925,000. Didn't even get the $700,000 that everyone seems to be giving out. Gave him the raise. Yeah, they've got a long way to go. I thought they may have tried to fix goaltending a little bit, but then you remember they've just got Dubnyk, so sorry Sharks fans, it's not going to be fun. And then the St. Louis Blues made massive headlines towards the end of the day, signing Torrey Krug at 7 years, $650,000. Could you imagine? $6.5 million. Sorry, there's so many figures going on at once. $6.5 million for the next 7 years. Really good contract. If Pietrangelo wanted more than that and then goes for a big ticket, Torrey Krug at 6.5 really does fix a lot of those problems and the gaps that he leaves. You got someone to send to the power play, a quarterback the power play. Makes a lot of sense for this team. I think this might improve this team, actually. Yeah, so I'm surprised they didn't go for another defender at some point just because everything that's going on with that team. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that move and replaced Pietrangelo, so yeah, pretty good. They also got John Gillis to come in at 1 year at $700,000 to help out in the goaltending depth. Tampa Bay, really good deals here. 2 years of Patrick Maroon at $900,000. You worry that eventually the wheels are going to fall off the wagon there, as they do with players that play his kind of style. But if you get the next year out of him and they can win another cup or go deep and he helps out, then that second year at $900,000 that you bury at some point, 100% worth it. Then again, you might get 2 years, and then this contract looks fantastic. I'm surprised they didn't look at Toronto just for the raise, especially with how much they frothed over some of the other deals, and we'll get to them. Luke Shen comes in at 1 year at $800,000, and Borgman and Christopher Gibson come in to round out depth in goaltending and defense at $700,000, which just seems to be the depth contract. The Maple Leafs, been their Saints Pats jersey. I love this jersey. This is the snuggest of the jerseys. Interesting. TJ Brody, 4 years at $5 million. A few people a little bit worried about that just because he had a down year last year, but I think that's a really good signing. Fixes a lot of problems that this team has on the blue line. Doesn't exactly give you that grit side of things, so I wouldn't mind them going out and getting someone else as well on a smaller deal. And then it came to this deal, and I don't know why everyone's talking about it. I think he's cooked. I honestly think that we've seen the last of Wayne Simmons at any sort of power. At 1 year, $1.5 million. Thankfully, there's not much term here. But yeah, like I'd much rather Spezza at the 700 or whatever they paid him than 1.5 for Wayne Simmons. Oh boy, I was speechless when I saw that. Yeah, I just really thought you could have gone and got a maroon and paid around that, and that would have been fine. That would have been perfect. Oh boy. Oh, that one may, yeah. I just don't think he's going to help this team very much. I think he'll be a liability on this roster, but hey, that's just me. At least it doesn't ruin their future. If it doesn't work out as an experiment that didn't work out, you can go the year after and work something out, right? Vancouver Canucks are decent. My hair's just going crazier and crazier with every jersey I take off and put on. Not a bad day for the Canucks. They round out their goaltending with Braden Holtby, 2 years at $4.3 million. Bit expensive, but it's not a huge amount of length. Sure, he's declined the last few years, but I would rather them do something like this than think Demko's all that because of how he played for a week. Not saying that he's not going to be that player, and I really hope he is. He was super exciting to watch him play, and I really enjoyed watching this team play. But I don't think they're quite there yet. I have a feeling this is more like the Calgary Flames or the Colorado Avalanche a few years ago that won a playoff round and then really made the mistake to think that they were that team. But they still have flaws and things to work out and a pretty young core. So, yeah, so I'm pretty happy that, like, it's a good deal, but it's not the be-all, end-all. It helps out Demko, takes the pressure from him. Holtby can eventually be a backup if Demko gets it together. So, yeah, and you might even be able to trade Holtby away and get a small amount of assets. Wouldn't be anything crazy. But, yeah, all in all, pretty good deal from a team that can make some pretty horrendous decisions at this time of year. Vegas, nothing crazy in the sense that they just signed Nelson, so nothing crazy there, but they made a huge move in getting rid of that Paul Stastny contract. That, boy howdy, does that help out this team. They got Carl Dahlstrom and a fourth. Carl is a fringe NHLer. I mean, let's call a spade here. But yeah, to be able to get out from under that deal is just so big. You know, getting rid of that deal just means they don't have to get rid of anyone else. I don't think they were really getting rid of Fleury. Unfortunately for them, they clearly wanted to move on. They still might be able to. They don't have much cap space, so Stastny really does help them out. Don't really know what the Jets are doing. Probably because Little's not coming back, but we'll get to the Jets in a moment. But yeah, so great deal from the Golden Knights. The Capitals, interesting-ish day. Bringing in Lundqvist, obviously Holtby is not coming back. 1 year, $1.5 million. Pretty good deal. Really good deal. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, you know, you've still got some goaltending, so it's fine. This deal I really didn't like. 2 years of Justin Schultz at $4 million a year. Did you watch Penguin games? Did you watch Penguin games? The dude is not an average player anymore. Like like really on the decline. That line with Jack Johnson, and it probably doesn't help that you're playing with Jack Johnson, really was not great. And the Jets, making a few dealings. Nathan Beaulieu, 2 years at $1.25 million. Mason Appleton, 2 years at $900,000. And Lucas Ibiza, which, oh boy, another player that you just don't like seeing on the ice. $800,000 for 1 year. But it's the more that Stastny trade, which I mean, clearly it's to help out with the fact that Little has been confirmed, probably isn't coming back next season. He might even just be done. Doctors have told him not to come back, and he's starting to get to the age that, like, if you're out of the game for nearly 2 full seasons, by that time, he's probably done, which is sad. I really like Brian Little. But yeah, it looks like that's it for him. Anyway, guys, that is the whole video. We made it all the way to the end. We have summed up every single team for the first day of free agency, and some of the deals that they made and where everyone's at. Obviously, a few players still on the board: Mike Hoffman, Taylor Hall, Alex Pietrangelo. Dadonov is still out there. Like, there's still some players: Duclair, Tyson Barrie, What else we got? Carl Soderberg, well, maybe not Carl Soderberg, but there's still a fair few players out there that are still waiting to get contracts, and some players that might be handy little deals down the way. What is Joe Thornton doing? Still tons of intrigue that will show itself the next few days. McCall Granlund. Some really good, actual players. So there's still lots to talk about the next few days. Kovalchuk, is he coming back? Athanasiou. Yeah, tons of players out there. So I think we'll be making probably another video tomorrow of everything that happened in day 2. But if you did like this video, hit the like button. If you made it all this way and you haven't subscribed, please do. It really does help us out. We're up to 253 now, which is crazy. As you can tell, I put a lot of effort into this video, so I would really appreciate it. And comment down below. Was there any moves that you liked, any moves that you didn't like, anything that you disagreed with or agreed with what I just said? But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you, and bye. Oh, and this is completely up to date from the Chris Tanev signing. So anything that happened like afterwards, that's it. But I think that those happened pretty late, and it's pretty late in the morning now. So I think we won't get any more. It'll all be day 2 then. See you guys. Bye.